and this is Jeff Koinange Live. Now, tonight's show sort of reminds me of the hashtag that's been trending all day long. Baba, while you were away. Those of you who have been on social media know what I'm talking about, because for the last few days, weeks, and months, there have been travel advisories, there have been evacuations, there have been calls for impeachment, there have been rallies banned and then unbanned. All sorts of shenanigans going on, and let's not forget the ghosts of Anglo-leasing keep coming back. But at the end of the day, despite the fact that this reminds me of the line in the movie Apollo 13, you know the one, Houston, we have a problem. But maybe we also have a solution. One man, and one man only, can break this down for us tonight, because tomorrow, Thursday, the 29th of May, is the National Prayer Breakfast. And maybe on that day, going forward, we could find some solutions. In the meantime, you know what time it is. It is time to ask the hard questions. It is time for Jeff Koinange Live. And I'd like to welcome all of you joining us here live at the poolside of the Intercontinental Hotel. And you know, if you've been looking at the papers, watching the news, listening to what's going on in this country, it would make you feel like this country is literally on fire. But it is not. We just like to kind of overemphasize things every now and then. But maybe there are some issues that need tackling. Joining me on the bench today is a man who began an initiative about a decade ago that makes us think, makes us wonder, makes us ponder, and hopefully makes us better people. Ken Jiru began an initiative called Ungwana Campaign. His hashtag is @Ungwana with a W. He talks about things being either Ungwana or Ushenzi, and you know what he's talking about. We're going to try and tackle these issues for the next hour or so with Ken. My hashtag is my Twitter handle rather is @KoinangeJeff. Please use the hashtag JKL. And we have a phone line, and that number is 0712 915 117. Let's get busy. Ken?
Jeff.
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you.
And thanks so much for your time, because I know you guys have been really busy getting ready for this prayer breakfast.
Yes.
Before we get to the prayer breakfast, which is an important milestone in this country's history, goodness, you pick up a paper. I was in Rwanda last week, picking up a paper. Travel advisories, tourists being evacuated, bombs going off all over the place. And you think, come on, man, this isn't Kenya.
Something is, let me say, I think Kenya is in that state we may call the state of being, the state of dis-ease. I don't know whether people know where the disease came from.
Dis-ease.
Dis-ease. We are in the state of dis-ease.
Yeah. And
rightfully so, or more so, because I'm of the opinion that, yes, we did enact a new constitution, and as I've said before, for the last 30 years or so, we've been working on the hardware, but we never touched the software. And that is what is coming to bite us now, because a lot of what is happening is a function of our sense of values, our attitudes, our behavior. In a nutshell, our cultural mode. If you take culture, you define culture to be the way we do things around here. And so you then find that the type of things that are happening, whether it is Al-Qaeda and the explosions that are happening, a lot of them are done because of some form of facilitation or other by possibly some policeman who's corrupt or something that went wrong.
Yeah.
Or even ourselves as Kenyans living with people who we know, by the way, are Shenzis, as I call it, but you'll not call them out. And so you find that happening in the places we live. You find that happening in leadership circles, because one of the reasons why this is happening is because I fundamentally believe the leadership in its totality is still living in yesterday. We got a new constitution that requires leaders to behave in a certain manner. We should have leaders by now should have reason, so to speak, so that what we are focusing on should be, or what they're focusing on should be, the question of taking Kenyans to another level. In fact, I keep defining, or rather I define Ungwana leadership as the ability to get people to do extraordinary things. And it doesn't matter where you are, whether it is in business, whether it is in politics, whether it is at home. We must be focusing on doing extraordinary things. And in this sense, by the way, if we don't focus on that, then we cannot achieve Vision 20 in the next 17 years or so.
No, we can't, Ken. And at the same time, when Al-Shabaab or its splinter groups, when they see us fighting amongst ourselves, they capitalize on that. They're loving that. And they're looking really good, doing some really bad things.
Of course, they're happy. They feel we're winning. When we can't, for instance, cobble together, because if you think about the whole question of security, that's a national it's a national security issue which should bring all leaders together. But now what do we have? We have shouting across the political divides. We have people posturing. We have people, questioning everything that is done without necessarily giving answers. Oh, you shouldn't have done that, but nobody seems to give any solution to the type of problems that we have. In instances like this, what we see in of course more mature democracies is platforms that are tagged by partisan, where we know that we are under attack. But unfortunately, you will find that in Kenya today, given the type of level of conscience that we have, especially amongst the leadership, we have people wanting to score cheap points left, right, and center. Nothing seems to work for some people. They are always criticizing. And I think for me, what I would like to see more of is a scenario where if something is good, we say it is good. And that is why people cynically say, give the devil his due. I mean, if the devil has done something good, say, at least that one is good for now. I mean, we must mature politically. If we don't do that, I think we're in a lot of trouble. Absolutely.
But at the same time, Ken, are our leaders helping themselves, or this administration, is it helping itself when we hear about some bungled things? Anglo leasing. We pay 1.4 billion. Someone comes up and says, you owe me 3.5 billion. Are we helping ourselves here, or are we putting a band-aid on a very serious wound?
I think the whole question needs to be unraveled. We need to get to the bottom of it. And in fact, today we were, I was having a discussion somewhere with somebody, and somebody remembered that at some point in some money was wired back. I think it was about 2-3 years ago. Some money was wired back from wherever it came from. But we didn't even bother to ask or to find out who wired it back and how had it got it in the first place. And of course, I remember then the issue became, but the money came back, not the question of who had stolen. But I think it is a culture we must address in this country, because Anglo leasing is just one of them. Golden bag and many other things that we do not know of, and many that have never been resolved. Nobody in this country has ever been held to account on corruption, and I think we cannot continue like this. We cannot continue with a situation where we are losing almost 4 to 500 billion shillings every year. And like I keep on saying, 400 billion shillings every year is about 16 thika roads. So you can imagine 16 thika roads in this country every year. In about 5 years, we'll be like some first world country in terms of roads. But that is going into people's pockets, and we don't question. But I also want to say that it is not just a question of leadership. I think the people, the citizens of this country have also the biggest burden to bear. Why do I say that? Because, Jeff, if today I come and steal from this country, the next thing I'm going to do is run for one political office or the other, and I'm going to get elected. As the people say, mkono mtupu, haulambu. When I mess, it doesn't matter, what I've done. The people back me up. So there's a functional problem. But of course, the leaders take the brunt of it. Why do they take the brunt of it? Because you're supposed to lead people to a certain place. You're supposed to take them to the promised land, or to where the pastures are greener. You cannot call yourself a leader and still get into the mud. All right. So we're talking about a situation where the citizen needs to raise themselves more so, given a new constitution that expects each and every one of us, you and me, to be informed, to be committed and dedicated to making sure that this country works, to understand the system of governance, rather than asking mutu wetu wako wapi. So that the type of psychophancy that we see around, it doesn't matter what a leader says, he talks nonsense, we cheer. That must go.
At the same time, Ken, we've discussed this before, and I've told you this time and again, we get the leaders we deserve.
That is what I'm saying. But yes, that in one sense, yes, we get the leaders we deserve because we vote for them. But on the other hand, again, great leaders. I like drawing the difference between a statesman and a politician. A politician is the average guy who comes and tells you, I'll build your roads, I'll build your church, I'll bring you free education. But a statesman is a man or a woman, for that matter, who dreams of a unique destiny for his or her people, finds a way of communicating that and touching the hearts of the people so that they then are convinced of what he's saying and they follow him. They may not necessarily know where he's taking them, but because he has managed to touch their hearts, they follow him or her.
Yeah.
And ultimately, he or she delivers them to that so-called, promised land or delivers that vision which he promised them. That's what we call a statesman. But what we have in plenty and galore are politicians, and many of them are basically shenzi politicians. Many of them. Yes.
PLO, I think, put it best when he said a politician thinks about the next election.
Yes.
A statesman thinks about the next generation.
The next generation. That is the picture. That is the picture. And the more we get of people thinking about the next generation, the better this country will become. Otherwise, and by the way, there is nothing wrong with a politician thinking about the next election. Ideally, let me say that, ideally, as he thinks about the next election, you're hoping that his or her policies are well considered, well thought through, and well costed, and are implemented, so that at least we are seeing the basics falling into place.
Yeah.
But we need, apart from the politician, or on top of the politician, we need statesmanship.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Speaking of statesmanship, Ken, police IG David Kimayo made a decree yesterday banning all political rallies until further review, whatever. And the uproar and the outcry was just phenomenal. And he had to unban them today. This because of the former Prime Minister coming back over the weekend. Your thoughts?
My thoughts on this are two-sided. So two-sided is a coin with two sides. One, we must not forget that the former police commissioner was taken to The Hague for not doing what he was supposed to do as the police commissioner. He was being held liable for not playing his role and letting violence escalate or burst out the way it did during the election. And by extension, what that told me is that the police commissioner, and that is why we gave him security of tenure, must always ensure that there is security, there is safety, there is protection of the lives of citizens at any one point in time. And he must not be cowed. If he thinks that something is wrong, then he must stand up without fear or favor, without even withdrawing. Let it not also be forgotten that it is the same politicians, the same, as PLO says, the same monkeys in the same forest who caused the same problem. They are the ones who took us to that level. They are the ones who made us fight.
Absolutely.
And many of them, I fundamentally believe, should also be in that. I think many of them should have also gone to The Hague. Yeah. And now they're telling us, no, we must have this thing we're calling democracy. Let me put it this way. Democracy is a good thing. And I am an advocate of democracy. But one thing I'm completely clear about. Democracy without what I call an ungwana character, without a sense of values, without a sense of right and wrong, democracy becomes like a knife in the hands of a child.
Is that what's happening in Kenya?
This is what is happening in this country. So that politicians lie through their teeth. Politicians will tell us so-and-so has done something wrong, so-and-so is bad. But they themselves don't look at themselves. Waswahili wanasema, nyani haoni kondule lake. Every time, for instance, and I'm not here to hold brief for Itzhak Hassan, but every time I hear CORD, for instance, saying he must go, I always ask, what about your men in black? Who went?
Nothing happened.
Nothing happened. We swept that under the carpet. But we are pointing at that fellow and saying that fellow baggled elections. And so I'm saying, what is good for the Ganda, what is bad for one person should also be bad for the other. I'm saying we need a sincere, we need a truthful debate, we need a truthful engagement. People need to start bringing out their true colors, not scoring cheap points, whether it's on the right or on the left.
Absolutely. Ken, I'm gonna take a call right now. There's calls are coming in. The number is 0712-915-117. We've got Sigira from Kibera. You're on the air. Hello. Sijar, how you doing, man? Sorry, my apologies.
I'm doing just fine, Jeff. I would like to contribute to the discussion.
Go ahead, real quick.
Yeah, I think what you is doing is quite well and really a concern with the situation, but I'm sure that the way he's tackling the issue of maybe the political loyalty of each and every political party and individuals is a little bit emotional. Like on my side, when we say that the Inspector General, this is my hot one, we would not take the ban on political rallies. I think that's wrong because each and every person has got a political duty when a particular leader like the leader, Right Honorable Dr. and Engineer Raila Amolo Odinga is coming back. I think the Court of Fraternity has got the right to welcome him back.
Okay.
So, Madaraka, you don't another big function like the rally that will happen there. So if you are talking about insecurity, then we cannot single out this political rally for court and leave aside Madaraka Day and even the rally that was being planned by the Jubilee side.
Sure. Let me ask you this real quick. Are you going to attend? Are you going to attend the rally?
Exactly.
I knew you'd said that. Thank you very much, Sijar from Quebec. Okay, let's take a real break. Let's take a quick break.
Okay.
Come back, talk about that.
Yeah.
And that National Prayer Breakfast, I think it's real key. Okay. Real key. We need a moment in time.
Oh, yes.
Maybe that's the moment.
Oh, yes.
Keep calling. 0712-915-117. Ken's Twitter handle is @Ungwana with 2 U's. Mine is @Koinange Jeff. The hashtag is JKL. We're talking issues. We're talking where we are as a nation. We're also talking how. Yes, how do we move forward? Looks like we are stuck in a rut. And also, Nyani Hayoni Kundule. How about that? JKL live from the poolside of the Intercontinental returns in a moment.